And we're back. So we are here with the top eight for Expedition Challenge number eight for the TNE. Um, and yeah, so Stormguard had a pretty interesting observation about the top eight bracket. Would you be able to share with the class?
So, as we noted earlier, there are a lot of viable strategies in Expedition right now, and I think it would be fair to classify each of these topic competitors' deck lists as different archetypes. So we have Destruction Heroes slash midrange against Mono Justice, Four Faction midrange against Argenport midrange control, Honor or FJP control against FJS aggro, and then we have TJS mid-range against monoprimal. So as we can see, lots of viable strategies and really coming down to who plays their deck the best, and which is absolutely what I love to see from from any sort of metagame. So we're taking a quick look at Spiffirific's FJPS, four faction midrange deck, utilizing the latest buff on Found Adept. So what this deck is essentially trying to do is play Found Adept and find a way to give it, say, one extra strength, be it through Toxic Wisp, Stolen Augmentations, Chaos and Patrol, uh, and so on and so forth. That way, you don't necessarily need to trigger Frenzy in order to be able to get the hits the enemy player clause on Found Adept. Other than that, we just have an assortment of very strong mid-range cards. I think the biggest difference, I believe, from the deck from last week is this Zhou, recognizing how powerful Zhou is, especially in conjunction with Sil Stronghold, and despite its rather prohibitive influence cost, that it is worthwhile to be playing in this deck.
I think it's also really interesting to be playing four Thicket Traps. Like, it helps you get primal, but just saying that a lot of these go wide strategies, a lot of these dinosaur nests, and more importantly, all these relic weapons, I just don't want to have to deal with storm hall plating. Like, that's how they're trying to get ahead, so I'm going to address it this way.
Absolutely, and the fact that just that incidental frenzy trigger for your Found Adept, the cherry on the top there.
So we've seen Secret Plans play a few times today, and they're on the Game Grump list from winning list from last week.
Being very careful here, valuing this Stormhawk plating, realizing that Spifferific is going to have a very hard time dealing with this massive relic weapon and essentially wanting to be able to play it if possible.
Well, one thing that's definitely true is that the Felno Dep is going to have a really hard time connecting against Secret Plans' deck. Just having all this removal, like the Shrivels, the Slays, Lunar Claw, it's going to be pretty difficult. It's a matchup that is going to come down a lot more to cards like Show, Black Book, um, and just, or even the Relic Weapons and Cell Stronghold. So just running these out there, I think that's a great play. I think inscribing all your Calda hits makes sense because the Argenport deck, the only thing it will hit by itself is Parliament Elder, but it can be, or it'll hit Black Book too. So I guess holding
Yeah,
on to one makes sense, but you probably don't want two.
absolutely. And recognizing that the Archerport list, with all of its removal, does still have a pretty difficult time answering this Joe later down the road. Probably play the power. I like playing the power here, just so that, as you mentioned before, right? Then both power and non-power will be a good draw for Spifferific, and
Yep,
they will be able to answer the Black Book in response.
yep. Yeah, I agree with all that. You want to be able to address the Black Book.
Look, I'm learning from Sensei. Uh,
I wouldn't call me that, but I guess you could call me whatever you want, as long as you don't call me late for dinner. Um, so we're gonna see the Black Book be able to get the stolen augmentation, another inscribed card. So the show can maybe come down next turn. Maybe you just play the Thicket Trap though, to be able to stop Stormhalt platings later on. Like it's kind of a tough decision, and that's why we see Spifferific pausing here. What do you think?
like,
Keep to the alleys.
sure. I'm still not sure if that was necessarily the correct play. I think because I guess it's a matter of do you think that uh, Secret Plans has a shackles, which is probably the cleanest way that they have of dealing with the show.
Mhm.
And given how the previous turns have played out, I don't necessarily think that you, whether or not you know that information.
Mm.
So definitely a tough spot here.
So still without any justice. So even if the show's drawn, if the justice is not drawn afterwards, it won't be safe with the called the wild, or what was it called? Bless the Wild. Uh,
Yeah. Stonebreaker Bow, clearing the Minotaur lighthouse here, stem the bleeding a little bit, but still in this ooh, Parliament. Ah,
ooh.
my favorite.
Yeah, just providing a lot of advantage and pretty much ensuring that that Stormhalt plating is going to come down next turn and really present quite the clock. So,
Yeah. At this point, Storm playing is just lethal
pew pew.
because yeah, Secret Plans knows that Spiffer, yeah, Secret Plans knows that Spifferific does not have a clean, fast speed answer to their Stormhold plating. There we go. Enunciation.
We see the head explosion. So Secret Plans up 1 game to 0 over Spifferific. I want to see Spifferific's deck like do its thing though. Like I want to see it connect with Felon Adept just once. Like doesn't even have to
Mm.
win. I want to get the full feeling in the coverage
I
speed.
mean, Found Adept is a really, really good card. Like, being able to draw a card for free every single turn. Um, uh, for the Magic folk out there, right? It sort of reminds me of Dragon Lord Ojutai.
Okay.
Right? It's essentially the same effect. You're looking at the top three cards of your deck and picking one, but on a 2 drop instead of a 5 drop. I mean, that effect is incredibly powerful, even if you're not planning on chipping in for as much damage.
Hmm. Yeah. Or it's kind of like a plunk where you don't have to take debt, but it's, you have to work a little bit harder for it. So we see yet another hand where the
Mm.
four faction thing makes it a little bit difficult for Spifferific. Also, you'd probably just rather have 3 power hands than 2 power hands. Oh,
Ooh,
okay,
oh,
but with the inscribe,
yeah.
choosing to keep it, or maybe this is the
Mm,
second 7. I'm not completely sure.
yeah, where we can't quite see it, but I think if hypothetically, right, if this was the first 7 from Spifferific, I don't think they can keep this here because the way that the Argent port, I feel like the longer that Spifferific lets this game drag on, the more difficult it will be for them. It just allows Secret Plans time to find removal,
Hmm.
find their ramp pieces, find their big haymakers, and just take over this game in the late game. So I do think that mm, it does feel a little bit slow, but again, that is a consideration of any sort of 4 faction deck that you end up playing in this format. So, and I know you don't play that much ladder Watchwolf, but for us plebeians, right? Um, us plebeians, that's mean to us. For us, other people who play way too much ladder, Spifferific is always on their
Oh
lane key,
yeah,
and I'm sure they know their hands inside outside.
oh yeah, like every time I go for masters, I always run to Spifferific. I feel like they're just always on, and you know, yeah, I spend a lot of time testing in my head and thinking and poring over my collection instead of jamming on ladder. But there's still time spent, and everyone learns in different ways and needs to prove concepts to themselves in different ways as well. And it's part of
Mhm.
what's so awesome about gaming in general that both Spifferific, who just grinds ladder all the time and tries a lot of new ideas and has a lot of inner workings down, versus me that just likes thinking about something and staring at the clouds all day or whatever in a very like Shikamaru sort of way. I just like the fact that we're both able to be, top tier Eternal players is pretty awesome.
And the the power struggle is unfortunately just really putting the nail in the coffin here Ga- uh as Secret Plans, who's playing Game Grumps deck list. Yeah, caught myself there. Just continues to develop this board. Ooh, Black Book.
Mm,
Really good
just
against
need
this
more
hand. Can't
power first.
see it, unfortunately. Probably see the Lunar Claw here, I think.
So one thing that's a little bit different about Spifferific deck compared to a lot of the decks we've seen today is there is no big catch-up mechanic. There's no board clear. It's really about trying to assemble a board and just trying to be able to get in, draw two cards every turn, and just like snowball that sort of advantage. So Spifferific doesn't really have meaningful ways to come back from being this far behind.
Yeah. And I think that's definitely just a deck building consideration. If you're going spreading yourself as thin as four factions, then you really can't afford to be playing the double shadow for Sulu Massacre or the double justice and double shadow for something like Nothing Remains. Yeah. Unfortunate draws for Spiffer here, but nonetheless a great run. That's 4 leaderboard points, probably putting that up to 15, and they're putting them in very good position for a wildcard slot.
Yeah, so we'll see if there's any matches left in the top eight. I'll check the battle file and hope that people have been reporting. Um, so it looks like Canada, eighth place, took down Apple Chips. So another good 5 pointer for Apple Chips for the leaderboard, but Canada advancing to the top four. And then
Wow.
and then the bottom side of the bracket, which has the Bergen versus Boomerang Guy and Suno versus Gosu. Still in progress. So here we're seeing the Bergen against Boomerang Guy. And not able to see Boomerang Guy's hand yet, but we can kind of judge by this turn how it's going. But looking at the Bergen's side, it looks pretty decent.
Yep. They're very well set up at this point. Uh, presu- Ooh, using the Mystic Shackles just to pop the Aegis here.
I mean, the
Um,
Shackles doesn't have any other role because it can only kill the gorillas,
yeah.
right?
I mean, I sort of, I suppose, I'm wondering if it's maybe worth. Let me just check. Always check the deck list. Don't speculate. Uh, if that's the only thing that you take away from me from this cast, always check the deck lists.
Yeah. No, I use a multi-monitor setup. The last two opens, I was at bachelor parties and wasn't able to go very deep in either of them. Kind of just conceding partway through day two. But uh, throughout my whole time playing, it was my first time being on mobile, not being at home where I have multiple monitors. And I literally brought up the deck list of both my opponent and me on my phone, and then I played on an iPad. And I'm just like, no matter what, like I can't like I'm not taking this seriously if I don't just like have just the knowledge of everything my opponent has access to. It was a lot harder in the in the draft one because of so many singletons, but
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. I unfortunately don't have multi monitors, but I have. I play on mobile and have the deck lists and my notes in front of me on my laptop.
there we go. Yeah, exactly. You just need two devices. It doesn't have to be two, monitors per se.
And the Bergen cleaning up very nicely here. A repeat of, I believe, what as they fought in a previous round. Don't remember off the head.
Yeah, I'm not sure what game that was though, but and it looks like Gosu defeated Suno 2-1. So either that the Bergen winning that game wins the match and we're good for the top four, or they're going to game two or three. So um, we'll have to wait to see which one that is. But Stormguard. So today, what would you say is maybe a takeaway? What's a card that has impressed you? What's like has the biggest like delta in terms of like where you started opinion wise at the start of this cast to like where it is now, or like maybe in terms of strategies?
Is it me? Is it like reductionist to say all the primal card? Um.
Yeah, so
Okay, so
all
the
the
voice
primal
of
cards.
God is telling us that we have our top four.
Mhm.
So um, I believe that Bergen won. So we'll be taking a quick break, and then we'll jump over to the Bergen v. Gozu in the top four in just a few minutes. Stick around.